Welcome to part 6 of the sales kit. We're now on interaction number 8, and this is the proposal presentation. Now, the proposal presentation is a really cool step because you're going to actually start to really sell at this point. Now, I don't mean like you're going to be doing the hard press. You're not a used car salesman. But at this point, you've got a lot of really great interactions with a customer, and you're going to actually put your solution in front of them. It's going to be a specific scope of work. It's going to have price, and it's going to get it's something that's going to be an actionable agreement between you and your prospective customer. So in this module, we're going to review some tips and tricks about proposals, our core objective of the proposal, and then of course go into the agenda for this meeting. So now I want to write a couple of rules on here before we get into the objective of a proposal. And one of those is proposals don't sell, you do. Now, I like to talk a lot about proposals because the kind of amateur and the early professional thing to do is just to try to hurry as fast as you can to get as many quotes out, and you email your proposal across, and then you get into that follow-up phone call cycle that I've talked about a lot, where you're just calling your prospective customers once a week or once a month or whatever it is. And what I want to zero in here is this idea that the proposal itself it does not really sell. The proposal is just an agreement. It's just a piece of paper that you put in front of somebody that says, here's what we've discussed, and it's an actionable document that multiple people can look at, make sure that you're speaking the same language, and it's something that you guys can review together. But it's not a tool that's actually used for selling. And I'll talk a little bit about what that means here in a little bit, but I just want you to understand that this is not a sales tool. This is a tool for doing business. The act of selling is 100% on your shoulders. So what you don't want to do is try to write this persuasive paper that's going to push your prospective client over the line, because 9 times out of 10, nobody's going to read the thing anyways. They just look at your overall scope of work and they look at the price. And so you want to really make the proposal, really speak to that, and don't rely on the proposal to actually sell. A big mistake that I made a lot early on was I would try to have my proposals sell. I would write these really amazing, persuasive proposals that were like, we're gonna do this and this, and it's gonna be so great, and our company has so much history with this and this, and I put a lot of energy into this document. And then what I would do is, I wouldn't spend enough time with my prospect. I wouldn't actually talk to them about what's in the proposal. Or sometimes I'd even put stuff in the proposal that we had never even talked about, just hoping that they'd say, oh yeah, we'll take some of that too. So the proposal, it's not there to sell. It's just there to be a document to kind of reaffirm everything that you guys have already talked about. So our next rule with proposals is to never just email a proposal to a prospect. Now, I put just in parentheses because obviously you're going to email your proposals across to your prospect at some time. You're going to want them to have a digital copy when it comes time to sign an agreement. But what you never want to do is just email your proposal to your prospective customer. In my early days, I made the mistake of when I would have my proposal ready, and I would have all this anxiety and anticipation for sending a proposal over to a prospective customer because we've had like a meeting or maybe two, and then I would put all this work into creating this proposal. Sometimes I'd spend 4 or 5 or 6 hours creating a proposal for a customer that I had only spoken to for maybe like an hour or 2 hours at most. Maybe they sent me an RFP, and then I invest all this time in creating my proposal, and then I email that proposal and I just wait. And I get into that follow-up game. And so what I want to teach you is that you want to never do that, basically. You never want to just email your proposal across. This interaction is called the proposal presentation because you present your proposal to your prospect. And we're going to talk about what that means specifically here in a little bit. But what you never want to do is just email your proposal across without a scheduled interaction with your prospective customer. When I stopped emailing my proposals and began presenting them, my win rate went up drastically. And this is right in line with the whole idea of you don't leave a meeting without a scheduled interaction for your next meeting. These are simple rules or sales truths that when you start to practice them, they're going to help you close a lot more deals. In the process, the interaction process really helps you build value for being able to charge more, but these simple tactics really help you, win more proposals. You're going to win more deals when you start to use this trick. Now, something to consider, and one of the reasons we don't email proposals is that when we do that, your proposal just becomes another stack of paper in a larger stack of paper. So if you want to get in your prospect's mind for a little bit, typically somebody, when they're evaluating a web solution, they might be talking to a handful of other companies. I've been pitching business before where somebody literally told me that they evaluated 100 companies. Like 100, that's just insane. And I won't say who it is, but the amount of time it takes to evaluate 100, I mean, you might as well just play the lottery, right, at that point. But the point is when you're pitching business, you probably are going to have some competitors on the deal. Now, sometimes you don't have competitors because you were referred in, you've got a good relationship with the person. But when you have competitors, your proposal it's just a document. So if your prospect prints out your proposal and they stick it in their website proposal stack, and they've got 10 or 20 or 30 other companies that have proposals in that stack, when your proposal is just an emailed document, it becomes just one of the other proposals that are in the stack. And what you want to do is have a strategy or a tactic that you're going to deploy to make your proposal stand out. And that's really what the proposal presentation is all about, is making your proposal stand out in the stack. And that kind of helps us to understand further of why we don't just email these proposals across. And our last basic rule when we're talking about proposals is that nothing should exist in a proposal that you haven't previously discussed. So this is another early sales mistake that I made a lot. I would be talking to a prospect and we'd be talking about their project and what they needed on their website and what functionality they needed and all that kind of stuff. We'd have this whole conversation about their website. And then I'd get ready to write the proposal, and when I was writing the proposal, I'd be like, I'd love to sell them on some search engine optimization. So I would just throw in this SEO part of the proposal. But I never talked to them about SEO, right? They didn't know what SEO was, and they weren't educated about it. I just threw in this optional retainer for $1,000 a month. Like, I was just throwing a fishing line over the side of a boat, just seeing if they would be interested in kind of, biting and wanting that feature. And so this is something that once I learned this, I understood why you never include anything in there, because you never know where somebody is when it comes to the different services or solutions you might be providing. Let's say, for instance, I hadn't talked to a prospect about search engine optimization, but I put it in the proposal. Well, maybe it turns out that they had hired an SEO company that ended up ransacking their bank, and basically they were paying them $2,000 a month, but the company never did anything, and they did this for a year, and then they finally ended up suing the company and whatever, right? I mean, there could be this whole story around the service that you're proposing, but you never really get to find that story out because you didn't discuss it. You just threw it into the proposal to see if you'd get the business. And so you want to be very careful about never including anything in your proposal that you haven't previously spoken about. And that's one of the reasons why we have that solution presentation, where we actually kind of lay out our solution in front of somebody before it's actually in a proposal. We verbally go through the solution to make sure that I'm not introducing anything new at the stage of proposal. Everything that's in the proposal should have been actually spoken about previously. We should have talked about the pain or problem in discovery. It should have been a part of your solution presentation. And at the very least, if you do end up putting something in that you think is kind of out there, make sure that when you're going through your proposal in your presentation that you call that out, that you specifically say, now I know we didn't discuss this piece, but while I was thinking about it, I think this function might solve this pain or problem in your business. So if you do decide to include something that you haven't previously spoken about, make sure as you're presenting that you actually, inform them that you haven't discussed this. And I would typically try to stay away from that, but it does happen from time to time. But what you don't want to do is put stuff in the proposal and then not talk about it even in your presentation and just try to like slip it by them. You want to make sure that everything has been discussed prior to actually presenting that proposal. So like I said, these are just 3 kind of rules to be thinking about when you go into your proposals. You don't want to rely on your proposal to sell. You never want to just email your proposal across to a prospect without having a presentation, a scheduled interaction where you guys review the proposal. And then you should always make sure that everything that's in your proposal, that you guys have previously discussed that. So now let's get into what our objective is of the proposal presentation.